Hi everyone, this is Shree, a psychologist, a coach, and India's top educator for UPSC CSE examination. I've been teaching psychology at an academy for almost 4 years, and today in this video, I'm going to discuss some very important things for UPSC aspirants which are related to your preparation, which can help you in understanding the level of preparation required for the exam and how exactly you can improve your preparation level by targeting your memory. Now, focusing on the very fact that you are a UPSC aspirant, you are very well aware with the kind of content you are supposed to cover in this time period you are giving for your preparation. This is vast content, and also there are a number of subjects involved, from your general studies to your optional subject. There is a lot of stuff which needs to be covered. Many a times students reach out to me explaining the trouble, explaining the difficulties they are experiencing in terms of covering the whole syllabus. Many a times they are afraid they'll not be able to cover their optional on time. Sometimes they are afraid that it will be difficult for them to cover the GS papers on time. Sometimes they are just afraid that they have read books so many times, but when it is the time to write the answers or to take the mock test, they are not able to remember the information which they have been learning for such long period. I believe that most of these points which I've just mentioned are relatable for you as well. What you need to understand here is that all of this is completely normal. You might feel anxious about it, you might feel stressed because of this, which is also understandable plus acceptable. But you will also have to understand that human memory has certain limitations. And beyond a certain point, you will not be able to reap the benefits of it unless you are using the right strategies and techniques. Right strategies and techniques only come into picture when you understand how exactly human memory works. Today in this video, I am going to extend my discussion from one of the past videos when I have discussed about different types of memory and how exactly your information is transferred from one type of memory to another type of memory, and why it is so important for you to store the information with a high degree of meaningfulness in your long-term memory, because that's something which is extremely important for you to remember the information, very important for you to use that information whenever it is required. We call it retrieval or recall. Taking it forward from there to in this video, I will be targeting on forgetting curve. Forgetting curve is a concept given by a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus. Few of you might have heard his name already, but if not, today I'm going to talk about the experiments he has conducted and what exactly are his findings, which are summarized in the form of this forgetting curve. Also, in the next video, I am going to discuss with you all that what all techniques and strategies can you use in order to enhance your memorization, or you can say how you can reduce the forgetting which is taking place for you. I would also discuss with you all that what are the different individual differences or factors which also come into picture when we talk about memorizing or when we talk about learning for such vast exams. Of course, reminding you all again before starting the new discussion that it is extremely important that you focus on encoding and organizing the information appropriately as discussed in the previous video, because unless you organize the information, unless you encode the information properly, you will find it really difficult to remember the information. Information here can be, of course, a varying component, wherein sometimes you are working with the shorter information or sometimes you are working with the huge information. A lot of you have been sharing with me that you tend to experience information overload because this is suddenly, all of a sudden, too much for many of you to learn, to remember, and also to reproduce. Now, the different ways you can use to help yourself is, number one, prioritize the content you have to study. and also prioritize the content which is extremely important for the exam purpose. When you have charted it out that this is important for the exam purpose, that only should become your priority, and in that as well, the topics which are going to reap you maximum numbers or maximum marks should be given the highest degree of priority, and you can then work on your priority in the descending order. This is the most important and the initial step which you are supposed to work on. Following this, now you need to understand that what exactly Hermann Ebbinghaus has conveyed in his findings on forgetting curve. First of all, you should know that forgetting curve simply tells you that if you are learning a content today, for what duration will you be able to remember that piece of information without forgetting much about it. It also tells you that when you start forgetting the information, at what rate you will forget the information, how much information are you going to forget in 1 hour, in 24 hours, in few days time, or in a week's time. All of this I'm going to explain, but more than the graph per se, I am going to focus on the other aspects of it, which will help you understand that you will have to make your preparation more meaningful in terms of content understanding, conceptual clarity you can call it. If this works in your favor, then you have much better chances in terms of improving your memory abilities and memorize a lot more content than your peers. Let's understand this in a very simpler manner, that here in the forgetting curve you can see it on the screen. One side denotes the percentage of information you have tried to retain, and the x-axis is denoting the time which has been elapsed. Now over a period of time, how much are you able to remember or how much you are going to forget is something which is conveyed through this graph. Please understand that most of the information you will forget actually within 1 hour after reading, and 24 hours, within 24 hours period, a major chunk of the information is lost. After that, the information will continue to lose out from your mind, but this is going to happen in a gradual manner. So the initial 24 hours, you are going to see a maximum decline in your memory, and after that it is going to stabilize to an extent. The information you forget on second day, fourth day, sixth day, or in the end of the week is going to be very less in comparison to the initial 24 hours. This simply tells you that whatever you are learning, if you are not revising it the same day, the next day, or at max in the next 2 days, you will be experiencing major forgetting. But in case you happen to revise that piece of information effectively, either the same day or the next day, you stand better chances of delaying the forgetting. And that is how you can influence your individual forgetting curve. So, this is the most important finding here. He basically conducted experiment on himself, for which he is criticized as well. But anyway, for you in general who are studying for UPSC without psychology optional, you do not have to get in such depth. Just understand the very fact that his findings have been, what do you call it? His findings have been re-verified, and this happened in 2015 researches, although he conducted his experiments like really long ago in 1880s, but after that in 2015 his findings have been verified again, and these are considered to be true, wherein you are learning again that after a point of time the forgetting is going to slow down, right? It is going to slow down, but in the initial period, in the initial bracket, you will be experiencing maximum forgetting. What actually happens and what are the key aspects related to memory which the forgetting curves talk about? Number one, that over time your memory tends to weaken. जितना वक्त गुजरता जाएगा उतनी ही ज़्यादा कमज़ोर आपकी याददाश्त होती जाएगी. नाउ दिस इज़ नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर जनरल मेमोरी, बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन यू आर लर्निंग नाउ. एज आई स्टार्टेड विद माई एग्जाम्पल कि अगर आपने आज कुछ याद किया है तो आपको कल तक वो इन्फॉर्मेशन याद नहीं रहेगी और 24 घंटे में मैक्सिमम फॉरगेटिंग होगी. एंड एज यू मूव फॉरवर्ड यू विल सी कि ग्रेजुअल डिक्रीज अभी भी होगा, मगर ये इतना फास्ट या इतना रैपिड नहीं है जितना कि इनिशियल 24 आवर्स में था. तो आप यहीं से ही समझ के सबसे पहला काम जो करेंगे वो यही करेंगे कि आप ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रिविजन करें. द बिगेस्ट ड्रॉप इन रिटेंशन विल हैपन सून आफ्टर योर लर्निंग एज हाईलाइटेड कि अभी आपने जो पढ़ा वो आपको अगले 1 घंटे में ही भूलना शुरू हो जाएगा. आपको सिर्फ कुछ चीज़ें, कुछ की एलिमेंट्स याद रहेंगे. एंड अगर आप चाहते हैं कि आप ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन यहाँ पर याद रख सकें तो आपको अपनी कीवर्ड्स, इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स, कोई भी इम्पॉर्टेंट फैक्ट्स हैं, कोई भी इम्पॉर्टेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन है, वो सब कुछ मार्क करके, हाईलाइट करके रखना चाहिए. सो दैट व्हेन यू हैव लर्न दिस पीस ऑफ इन्फॉर्मेशन you are able to draw maximum information to your memory. When you are able to pass on this information in your long term memory, there are better chances of you remembering this information for a longer time. The funda is that when we are learning something for the very first time, we are spending a lot more time in just understanding the concept. We are not always as careful in terms of learning as we should be because of a lot of distractions, individual factors, environmental factors. The ability to focus tends to reduce. As the ability to focus tends to reduce, the encoding process also gets diluted. Because it is getting diluted, you are not able to pay a lot of attention. You will find that here in the organization of information in your mind is not taking place the way it should be. Because if it happens appropriately, you stand a better possibility to remember the information. But because it is not happening, you tend to forget more and more, that too very quickly. So what you have to now do in this particular scenario is that the moment you realize that you are going to forget the information, or now when you understand, as I'm telling you repeatedly, you should be ensuring that you mark the important points. And when you are learning the information for the first or the second time, ensure that you emphasize a lot more on those important keywords, important pointers, important facts, important examples or diagrams. Try to give little extra time to these. Also, if possible, if you are not able to revise the whole content again, just revise the highlighted portions once within the same day or in the next 24 hours. This is one best strategy or technique which can help you in terms of minimizing your effort in terms of revision if you look at it in the long run. Because if you learn something today and you do not touch that particular topic or that book for, let's say, next 2 to 3 months, you will have to put in almost the same amount of effort when you start learning it again after 3 months. So it's much better that whatever you have learned or you have covered, you better practice it, you better revise it in the next day, and you revise it in the next week, then you revise it in the next 15 days. This is a brilliant strategy in order to ensure that the memory is intact and you are not forgetting things easily. Also, another very important factor which is highlighted in Ebbinghaus's research is the very fact that any information which is more meaningful to you will be remembered for a longer duration. So, information wherein you are not able to assign any meaning, information which doesn't just hold any importance to you, there are more chances of you forgetting such piece of information. So what exactly is it that works in your favor? Elaborative rehearsal, what we call it, is going to be in your favor. It simply means that whatever you are learning, you are studying, try to associate some degree of meaning to it. This meaning can be simply in terms of translating that information for yourself so that you can associate it with different concepts you have learned over the years. For many children, many students, it helps them even when they translate it to their mother tongue, because a lot of us have a habit of remembering things better in our mother tongue. If that works for you, mentally you can do it. You do not necessarily have to do it on paper. So mentally, when you break the concept or translate the concept for yourself, you have better chances of remembering it. Apart from that, what you can do is that anything you have learned in the past, try to club this new information with that past information. When you do that, you have now bring in a very high degree of meaning to the information. With such high degree of meaning, you again stand better chances of remembering the information for a longer duration. Moving on, another thing which is possible for you to do is that as and when you are learning something, do ensure that you start categorizing as per your syllabus or as per your previous year questions. These things will also be extremely beneficial for your better recall. One more strategy which you can pitch in here is that as you are learning the information, do ensure that anything which is related to you personally, anything like your life history or something which you have observed somewhere, your own vacations, your trips, something you're reading in newspaper, to something which is happening around your family or your friends, anything wherein you have been actively observing things or you are aware about these things, you can try to connect your educational information with such scenarios as well. That is also one of the brilliant methods of remembering the information with great ease. I will talk about all of these strategies in next video with a lot more examples, detailed examples, to help you understand that what sort of strategy can you curate for yourself, and you can pick the one which really works for you. Because see, every individual tends to function in different manner. From the way you look at an information, you perceive it, to the way you are simply going to use it for your perusal, you are going to write it, retrieve it, present it. Everyone has a different methodology of working, so you better understand that how exactly is this going to be useful for you. So watch the next video also to understand these things in detail. Another important aspect which you should remember is that the way you present the information or the way information is presented to you is also going to influence your learning. And do remember the very fact that learning is directly correlated with memory. The degree of learning, the quality of learning you are doing will always have direct influence on your memory functioning, which means that if the information is always presented to you in the most boring format and you are not doing anything about it, or your educators are not doing anything about it, there are lesser chances of you being able to remember that information. But if the information is simplified, broken down into simple concepts, if it is provided with a lot of examples, and if there is a better chance of you connecting the information with something which is more relevant, meaningful, or has emotional associations for you, can prove to be extremely beneficial in terms of having a positive impact on your learning, which in turn is going to positively influence your memory functioning. Another very important and crucial aspect is that how do you feel, how how is your life going on. All of these things will also have a direct impact on the way you remember. Now, how do you feel about things, or how exactly is your life going on? It simply means that your own individualistic characteristics plus the environment around you is going to have a strong impact on your learning, and thus affecting your memory as well. Which simply means that if you are somebody who is not taking good care of your health, who's not sleeping, for the right amount of time, who's not eating well, who's mostly tired, fatigued, is exhausted, is burnt out, or not keeping well emotionally, not eating good diet, all of these things, all of these factors, and of course the environmental disturbances, everything together can actually influence your cognitive functioning, thus affecting the way you learn and also affecting the way you memorize and how much can you memorize. So considering all these factors, you should understand that learning definitely is a simple but yet little complex process, and we can always simplify it for ourselves if we understand the complexities better and we pick up the right solutions for ourselves. So, I'm asking you all to ensure from now onwards, when you know that you are preparing for this exam, ensure कि आप क्या करो, सबसे पहले सिलेबस और प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस के हिसाब से अपने कंटेंट एंड अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन को कैटेगराइज करके रखो। इतना कैटेगराइज करते हो तो हर पढ़ने वाली इंफॉर्मेशन को जितना हो सके ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रियल वर्ल्ड या सिंपल एग्जांपल्स के साथ में कनेक्ट करके रखो। जितना इन्फो को सिंप्लीफाई करोगे उतना आपके लिए फ़ायदेमंद रहेगा। जब आपने इंफॉर्मेशन को कैटेगराइज कर लिया, इस तरीके से याद कर लिया, द नेक्स्ट थिंग यू शुड बी वर्किंग ऑन इज दैट यू आर रिवाइजिंग द इंफॉर्मेशन विद इन दी 24 hours. These are few tips and techniques which I'm suggesting you today. I'll discuss more techniques with you with a lot more detailed examples in the next video. Stay tuned to an Academy Article 8 channel and subscribe to the channel. Do like the video if it has helped you in terms of boosting your UPSC preparation, and if there is any topic which you want me to cover, please feel free to put your suggestions in the comment section and we will try to make the video and address the queries you all have. Thank you so much everyone. Take care.